біля хати джавеліни хлопці заряджали. Орків валять ці ракети, як святі кинджали. Хай вертаються додому, нахуй з кораблями. Що ж ти робиш, джавеліне, з тими москалями? Як стріляють джавеліни, ворог швидко гине. Джавеліне, джавеліне, любий джавеліне, 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 файний джавеліне.
Putin's soldiers had no idea they were invading Ukraine until they took return fire from Kyiv forces. An ex-paratrooper in the Russian army has revealed in an explosive new memoir. Pavel Filatiev, 33, says his elite unit was moved to the border with Ukraine after he had seen talk of a planned invasion in the world's media, but that they were sent in with no warning that they'd be facing enemy forces. His memoir also tells how he was given a rusty machine gun and an ill-fitting uniform, and that his comrades were wiped out because they were using our grandfather's tactics. He said he woke up to the sound of gunfire in the back of an army truck crossing the border at 2 a.m. on February 24, the day the invasion began. Filatiev asked, "Are we firing at advancing Ukrainians? Where we were going and why wasn't clear. It was clear that a real war had begun. I found out we had orders to go to Kherson, as shelling started and Ukrainian soldiers began firing at Russian vehicles." Filatiev said he realized he had invaded the neighboring country. He added, "It became clear that we had attacked Ukraine." In an explosive new book, Filatiev has highlighted appalling shortcomings from ill-fitting uniforms to army medics without syringes or painkillers. The paratrooper was part of the original botched invasion, but soon quit on medical grounds. Russian commanders are using the tactics of our grandfathers, he said. In devastating extracts highlighted by independent media outlets iStories and Meduza, Pavel wrote, "We had no moral right to attack another country, especially the people closest to us. When all of this started, I knew few people who believed in Nazis and, moreover, who wanted to fight against Ukraine. We didn't have hatred and we didn't think of Ukrainians as enemies. Most of the army is dissatisfied with what is happening there. They're dissatisfied with the government and their commander, with Putin and his policies, and with the defense minister, who has not served in the army. We have all become hostages of many forces and I believe that we got carried away. We started a terrible war. A war in which cities are destroyed and which leads to the deaths of children, women, and the elderly. The lack of preparation began when he was issued an ill-fitting second-hand uniform. He said, I refused to accept a used uniform that didn't fit, which is why my relationship with the command began to deteriorate. After arguing with my company commander, I went and bought myself a pea coat. Training for the war led to many servicemen getting sick because they did not have the proper uniform. We went to the training ground for parachute jumping, he said. At night, it was below zero and we were driving in uncovered Kamaz trucks. Many of the servicemen didn't have warm clothes. Some hadn't received any, others refused to accept them. Within a week, about 30 servicemen from my unit were admitted to the infectious diseases unit. All those who were ill had been on the bungled training jumps in annexed Crimea, he said. In mid-February, my company was at a training ground in Staryi Krim. I realized that something was definitely brewing. Everyone who had been discharged or fallen ill was rounded up and sent to the training ground. Over the next few days we went to the firing range, where I finally picked up my machine gun. It turned out that my machine gun had a broken belt and was just rusty. On the very first night of shooting, the cartridge jammed. Even as Putin's regime denied it was going to war, at some point on February 20th, the order came for everyone to urgently pack up and move out. There was about to be a forced march to an unknown destination. At that point, everyone was already dirty and exhausted. Some had been living at the training ground for almost a month. Everyone's nerves were on edge, and the atmosphere became increasingly serious and incomprehensible. The start of the war became chaotic with his own commander not knowing what he was supposed to do. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you can be alerted to our next video. We'll see you again soon on Warzone.
Танки, БТР підбиті, ворог відгрібає. Хоч рашисти потім збрешуть, що потерь немає. У Сибір втечуть кацапи, наш народ могутній. Десь у бункері усреться навіть хуйло Путін. Як стріляють джавеліни, ворог швидко гине. Джавеліне, Джавеліне, любий Джавеліне, Джавеліне, Джавеліне.